The Overwatch Midseason 16 patch has the Street Fighter skin collab, a very cute mythic weapon skin from Mercy, an Overwatch Classic mode from October 2020, FREJA being added to Stadium, loot box drops by watching my stream at twitch.tv/KarQ, and of course a balance patch for the main game, which is what we'll begin with first. Alright, for the tanks, Hazard's passive Vault is getting a buff in its ledge climb animation, as it's going to be reduced from 0.6 to 0.4 seconds. For his major perk called Anarchic Zeal, Spike Guard's lifesteal is going to be increased from 25% to 40%. The devs comment that Hazard's slower climbing fits his lumbering tank fantasy, but it was a point of friction when trying to chase down or escape from enemies, so we're speeding it up and how quickly he can vault over a ledge. Additionally, we're boosting Anarchic Zeal's lifesteal as the current value was not effective enough. Ryan's Fire Strike is getting 2 buffs. The projectile speed is going to be increased from 25 to 30 meters per second, so it'll travel a little bit faster. And the recovery time is going to be reduced from 0.63 to 0.45 seconds, so you can throw back-to-back Fire Strikes a little bit quicker. The devs comment that REINHARDT generally does well across the game, but falls off in effectiveness at high ranks. We're increasing the speed and responsiveness of Fire Strike to make it more reliable from range. FREJA, a nerf to her quick dash, the cooldown is going to be increased from 3.5 to 4 seconds. The devs comment that FREJA has continued to climb in win rate now that players have become accustomed to her kit. We are partially reverting the quick dash cooldown to reduce her airtime and frequency of explosive bolts. For GENJI shurikens, the overall ammo is getting nerfed from 30 to 24, so you can only fire 8 times, but the projectile speed will be increased from 60 to 75 to compensate. The devs comment that GENJI shurikens can feel inconsistent against fast-moving targets. Increasing the projectile speed will make them more reliable, while the ammo reduction helps offset the added effectiveness. HANZO's Stormbow primary fire, the draw time is going to be reduced from 0.8 to 0.72 seconds, that's a buff. And the Sonic Disruption minor perk, the health pack hack time is going to be increased from 12 seconds to 30 seconds. The devs comment that HANZO's been underperforming recently, so we're reverting his bow draw speed back to its original faster value. The Sonic Disruption perk isn't picked very often, but increasing its duration will make it more useful and require less upkeep to control a health pack. For PHARAH's Drift Thrusters minor perk, their movement speed while using the Rocket Barrage will be reduced by 20%. Then for the Concussive Implosion major perk, the distance pulled will be reduced by 50%. The devs comment that Drift Thrusters and Concussive Implosion have been too consistent at securing kills. These adjustments will give better opportunities for counterplay when fighting against these perks. For Reaper, his Dire Triggers major perk, the recovery time is going to be reduced from 0.7 to 0.5 seconds. The devs comment that we're aligning the recovery of Dire Triggers with Reaper's primary fire to improve the flow when alternating between the two. For Soldier 76's Stim Pack major perk, they're removing the anti-heal effect that he gets, but he does damage himself 75 on use. Additionally, it is also now activated by using his weapon swap. The devs comment that Stim Pack's button mapping made it difficult to activate, especially in combat, so binding it to the weapon swap improves the control scheme, and removing the anti-heal makes it less punishing to use, and that also means you can use your biotic field at the same time. For Sombra, her Translocator fade-in time has been increased from 0.15 to 0.3 seconds, and the stealth reveal duration on taking damage has been increased from 1 to 1.3 seconds. The devs comment that invisibility is a frustrating mechanic to play against for so many, so we're increasing the windows for counterplay. Sombra will now take longer to exit stealth and to disappear after taking damage. Interesting nerfs here. For Widowmaker, the Widow's Kiss, which is her primary fire weapon, the maximum spread is reduced from 3 to 2 degrees, so a tighter spread means better DPS, that's a buff. And the damage will be increased from 13 to 14 per bullet. For Widow's major perk called Deadly De, the Venom Mines bonus damage will be increased from 50% to 100%. The devs comment that Widowmaker is more map-dependent hero than most, and now with hero bans restricting her usefulness, we're looking to make her viable in more situations. For supports, we have ILLARI, the solar rifle secondary fire, which is the healing. The range will be increased from 15 to 20 meters. The devs comment that ILLARI often has to move into high-risk positions to heal effectively, so extending the range on her healing beam will give her more flexibility in how she positions and supports her team. For LIFEWEAVER, his Healing Blossom primary fire, the auto charge rate will be increased by 25%. For his Super Bloom major perk, the number of hits to trigger has been reduced from 20 to 16. The devs comment that the opportunity cost to use Thorn Volley is still too high compared to constantly charging Healing Blossom, so we are improving the auto charge to make weaving damage between healing less punishing. That's it for the main game. Let's move on to the stadium specific changes. For the Mercy rule, it now triggers when the cash disparity between the teams is at 10,000 or more instead of 15,000 or more after having a 3-0 lead. The devs comment that we feel that not enough games that reach 3-0 are triggering the Mercy rule when they probably should. We'll be keeping a close eye on this and we'll be considering other changes to the Mercy rule system in the future. For the overall round completion cash, they've added a system where players are granted an additional boost to their round completion cash in rounds that end with players on both teams having lower than intended amounts of cash. The additional cash will be equivalent for every player. Alright, for Reinhardt, a nerf to the smashing power. They're reducing the move speed per stack from 2% to 1%. They're reducing the lifesteal per stack from 5% to 3%. They're reducing the overall duration from 3 seconds to 2 seconds, but they are increasing the maximum stacks from 5 to 10. For the To Me, My Friends power, they're increasing the healing based on maximum life from 3% to 4%. For the Wilhelmwagen power, they're decreasing the healing from damage mitigated from 15% to 5%. And for his Rocket Strike epic hero ability item, they're decreasing the Fire Strike projectile speed from 50% to 25%, and they're decreasing the ability power from 20% to 10%. For Chimera's Maw, which is a rare hero ability item, they're decreasing the ability power from 10% to 5%. Big patch notes here, so the devs comment that to compensate for the buff to Reinhardt's Fire Strike in core Overwatch, because those patch notes are tied to Stadium, I guess, we're decreasing the burst potential of Reinhardt's Fire Strike build and normalizing the maximum projectile speed Fire Strike can reach. We are also tuning down Reinhardt's melee build to be a bit more counterable, which is performing too consistently given the high payoff of the build. FREJA, brand new hero added for Stadium, which should shake things up. Not going to go over all her abilities and items, but she seems to be pretty cool. For Soldier 76, his cratered power, they're reducing the explosion damage from 25% to 15%. The devs comment that Soldier 76's Helix rocket build is one-shotting a little too consistently. We're decreasing the damage here a bit to reduce the burst potential. Alright, some general item changes for everybody here. For Icy Coolant, the rare weapon item, they're increasing the cost from 5,000 to 5,500. For the Talon modification module, a rare general weapon item, they're increasing the cost from 5,500 to 6,000. For the Closer, the epic weapon item, they're increasing the cost from 13,000 to 14.5 thousand. For Eye of the Spider, the epic weapon item, they're increasing the cost from 13,500 to 14,000. Or Multi-Tool, the rare ability item, they're decreasing the cost from 5k to 4.5k. They're decreasing the cooldown reduction from 10% to 5%, but they will be increasing the ability power from 5% to 10%. For Nano Cola, the rare ability item, they're increasing the cost from 5,500 to 6,000. Champions Kit, the epic ability item, the cost will be increased from 13.5k to 14k cash, and they're decreasing the ability power from 40% to 35%. For the Adrenaline Shot common survival item, they're increasing the health from 10 to 25, but they will be increasing the price from 1,000 to 1,500. For the Electrolytes common survival item, it now gives 100 overhealth every time you spawn, instead of just at the start of the round. The cost will be increased from 1,000 to 1,500. For Gloom Gauntlet, the epic survival item, they're increasing the cost from 9,500 to 10,000. For Bloodhound, the epic survival item, the cost will be decreased from 9,500 to 9,000. For the Geneticist's Vial, the epic survival item, they're increasing the life after rezzing from 200 to 250. The devs have commented that stacking large amounts of weapon power or ability power have become too prevalent, crowding out other itemization options. We are lowering the cost efficiency of these items to promote greater item diversity and weaken builds that rely on high amounts of burst through stacking weapon or ability power. We're also strengthening some of the weaker item options. And that is it for the patch. Remember to come to my stream at twitch.tv/KarQ to watch for either 2 or 5 hours total to get 2 loot boxes. See you there.